the busy main street of Ubud is the house of Bali's most important 20th century artist. Just inside the gateway of Lempad's house is a statue like no other, the Pied Piper of Hamelin. This German folk tale tells the story of 130 children who were lured away by the musical pipe of a mysterious stranger who'd been employed to rid the town of rats. But how and why did it inspire Lempad to create such an unusual piece? My name's Vivian, and welcome to Art, Ritual and Myth.
Terus bayinya diambil di kota karena dia sudah bisa mengandung tikus itu.
This medieval German tale, made popular by Goethe, the Brothers Grimm, and in English by Robert Browning, is probably the only Western tale to have inspired any art by Lempad. He's likely to have heard it while working for the Dutch sculptor Louis van der Noorder, who was commissioned to do two large monumental Art Deco sculptures for a bank in present-day Jakarta, Batavia at the time. They carefully crated up the statues, put them onto a ship, took them across the Bali Strait, saw them onto the train safely in Surabaya, and then returned immediately to Bali. It was the first and only time that Lempad had ever left the island of the gods in his 116 years. Somehow, during his time with Louis van der Noorder, he is said to have heard the story of the rat catcher of Hamelin. For those who need a recap, in 1284, or 59 years before the Majapahites invaded Bali, the town of Hamelin in Lower Saxony had a rat problem. The mayor agreed to pay a mysterious stranger 100 guilders, which was a fortune in gold at the time, if, as he promised, he could rid the town of rats. The Pied Piper then is said to have lured the rats away with his silver flute, where they drowned in a nearby river. When the mayor refused to pay the fee, the Pied Piper sought revenge. He waited till the adults were all in church, and then he returned to the streets of Hamelin, playing his pipe. The town's 130 children were so entranced by the sound that they joined him and followed him out of the gates of the city, never to be seen again. Some say they disappeared into the side of a nearby mountain. That's the story as it's still told in German, and it's been translated into other languages with some variations. Lempad, who never learned to read or write, was fond of hearing traditional Buddhist, Hindu and Balinese folk tales and translating them into drawings, carvings, sculptures from memory. I asked Lempad's grandson, I Gusti Gede Udayana, how Lempad came to be inspired by a German tale.
Kira-kira cerita dari yang patung yang di depan, yang perempuan pakai suling itu cerita dari barat. Dia disuruh menghalau tikus karena di suatu kota itu terlalu banyak tikus. Nah itu disuruh menghalau, sesudah bisa dia menghalau sampai hilang tikus itu di kota, dijanjikan mendapatkan imbalan. Karena imbalannya tidak dikasih, terus bayinya yang digoda. Makanya ada patung bayi di bawah.
That's a German story though.
Yeah.
Why? How did Lempad come to be so interested in a German story?
Karena kakek saya mendapatkan cerita-cerita itu adalah dari mendengar dulu suatu cerita, sudah itu diimajinasi apa itu cerita, dipikirkan terus dibuatkan suatu bentuk karya seni.
So the interesting part of the story, from Lempad's family's point of view, is vermin control. This might be a clue as to why the statue's placed in such a prominent place just inside the gate. The streets of Bali traditionally were flanked by open drains in between the roadway and the front fences of the house. In bigger towns now, like Ubud, they're covered by precast concrete caps which serve as footpaths or sidewalks. However, in Lempad's day, these would have been open drains. At certain times of the year, rats must have been a problem, and perhaps he hoped that by placing this statue just inside the gate, it would deter them. As for the German tale, there's a plausible explanation for what may have happened to the children of Hamelin. At the time, special recruiters were hired to lure people away to the Baltic region, which had been devastated by the Mongols and then I think the Danes, and so it was depopulated. It was available for colonisation. A large number of people in 2 districts close to Berlin have surprisingly similar family names to those that were found at the time in Hamelin. Perhaps they're the descendants of the children of Hamelin. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Vivian, and please join me soon for another edition of Art, Ritual and Myth.
Rap